Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Thunderstorms the next couple of afternoons. We have a level 1 risk for severe storms for today and tomorrow. I'll walk you through the timeline on Futurecast.
And the polls are now open for today's primary runoff election. Ahead, we're looking at some of the big races, as well as telling you what you need to know if you don't have a photo ID.
And the Carolina Hurricanes showed up and they showed out. They are still in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and now there's a chance for them to tie up their series against the New York Rangers after last night's 4-1 win. Wow, what a game that was at Madison Square Garden. We were saying yesterday, it's not over. They're not out yet. They still have a lot of games left to play, and they have another one to play. So we'll talk about that coming up. Thanks for joining us. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
I'm Chris Lovingill. We will talk about that, but first we have to talk about the weather. We're seeing some scattered showers here and there across our area. Elizabeth Gardner has been tracking that all morning long.
Yeah, we've seen mostly just light rain this morning, and it's come and gone in waves. Right now, we're seeing a little bit of a break from Raleigh northward, but the next wave is moving on in, and this does have some steadier to heavier rain along with it. We're seeing some scattered rain in Sanford, down toward Fayetteville and Clinton right now, and that's headed toward the Triangle. I expect to see that anywhere from the next 30 minutes to an hour, depending on where you are. And our southern counties are also in that level 1 risk for severe storms. We'll start to see the thunderstorms around or just after lunchtime, and that level 1 risk means we could see some isolated wind damage, possibly even some hail in that area. Let's walk through Futurecast, and it just shows waves of rain coming through. Once we get closer to lunchtime, we have the potential for there to be a few storms embedded in these showers, and again, some of those could produce some wind damage or some hail. This is going to continue overnight tonight and pretty much all day tomorrow. Now, we may have a break in the morning tomorrow with afternoon and evening thunderstorms, so we're going to walk through tomorrow's Futurecast coming up. Take a look at Fayetteville right now. Streets are wet here in downtown. 65 is our temperature in the Triangle. It will be a cooler afternoon. High temperatures will climb to around 70 by lunchtime. Just kind of hold in the low 70s for the remainder of the day. Tomorrow, we have a level 1 risk for severe storms across the entire viewing area, and coming up at around 8:15, we'll go over the timing, location, and threats on Futurecast. Ken?
And Elizabeth, speaking of those damp road conditions, we want to give our viewers an opportunity to see what exactly people are dealing with. This is a live camera at I-40 at Hammond Road. This was bumper-to-bumper traffic in the last few minutes or so, but traffic is beginning to move just a bit. Similarly, our live camera at I-440 and Wake Forest Road, traffic has picked up a bit, albeit moving this morning. So we'll keep an eye on these road conditions just in case these major thoroughfares are part of your morning commute. Checking road conditions this morning, all the green you see here on this map shows the damp road conditions all across the Triangle this morning that we've been monitoring. There are a couple of crashes that we want to bring your attention to that happened in the last 5 or 10 minutes or so. We've been working to get more information about these crashes. This one in particular on Falls of Noose Road in the southbound lane near Durant Road. You can see it's causing quite a bit of bumper-to-bumper traffic right there in Falls of Noose Road. And also we're picking up a lot of bumper-to-bumper traffic on I-540 this morning, so keep that in mind. If that's part of your morning commute, you might want to take a local route and stay away from that area. This is a crash on Rock Quarry Road near the I-440 westbound lanes, not causing any major issues in the immediate accident scene, but you can see the southbound side of the Beltline. Traffic has definitely picked up this morning.
All right, thank you, Ken. WRAL is following this developing story. 3 people are hurt after a shooting in Cumberland County this morning. It happened around 3 a.m. in Hope Mills on Dry Point Lane off Legion Road. WRAL's Nick Perlin is in the breaking news tracker at the sheriff's office. He is there live with us there now. Nick, it's not clear if a suspect is in custody, though.
That's right, Chris. We still have a lot of questions that we're trying to ask the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office right now. But what we do know is somebody fired their gun very early this morning on this small road here on Drywall. I'm going to get you to this video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker just so you can see what I'm talking about. This is on Dry Point Lane near Legion Road in Hope Mills. Like I said, this is a very short road, and this is where we can tell this shooting happened. We know the call came in at around 3 a.m. Like I said, I'm still trying to learn from the Sheriff's Office what exactly led to this shooting, and most importantly, we're also trying to figure out if these 3 people are going to be okay. Like Chris just mentioned, we're not sure if they have a suspect right now, but I'm going to keep asking more questions, and once we have more information, I'll be sure to update you. Live in Cumberland County, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
Polls are now open for runoff elections in several races across the state. WRAL's Laura Levine is in Raleigh this morning. And Laura, there are 3 Republican races that are being voted on today.
Hey, Michelle, good morning. Right now, we are here at this precinct at Chavis Park where voters will cast their ballots here today. Today's primary runoff features the statewide Republican races for state auditor and lieutenant governor. And that's because both positions attracted lots of candidates in the March GOP primary, and no one got above 30% of the vote. In the 13th congressional district, which wraps around the triangle, voters will decide between Smithfield attorney Kelly Daughtry and former federal prosecutor Brad Knott. But Daughtry ended her campaign just days before this runoff, so her name will still appear on the ballot. Some voters may have some trouble supplying a photo ID because of a processing backup at the state DMV. State Elections Director Karen Brenton Bell tells us those voters will still be able to vote using a provisional ballot.
There's actually an exception for that on the exception form, so we could help them that way, or potentially they may have another acceptable form of ID.
And just a heads up for voters in Orange County, Jennifer Moore withdrew from the Board of Education runoff. However, her name will still appear on the ballot as well. Laura Levine, WRAL News, we're live in Raleigh.
And polls will be open until 7:30 tonight. If you go to WRAL.com, you'll find your sample ballot, polling location, and full information breakdowns of each candidate. Just search the word vote. We'll have election results after polls close tonight on WRAL, WRAL.com, and the WRAL News app.
This morning, investigators are trying to track down the driver they say led troopers on a chase that ended in a crash. Investigators say that driver reached 150 miles an hour before the crash. This happened last night in Spring Lake. What you're looking at on your screen right now is another driver's dash cam video obtained by WRAL. You see a trooper speeding through an intersection after that speeding driver. More law enforcement vehicles later sped past as the chase continued, but the chase ended when the driver crashed into other cars, we're being told. You can see the damage right there on your screen. 2 of those drivers were taken to the hospital. Troopers say the white Dodge Challenger the driver was in was stolen, and the driver was able to get away.
The Carolina Hurricanes are coming back to PNC Arena for another game. They are still in their series with the New York Rangers after last night's outstanding performance, including scoring 4 goals in the 3rd period. The Canes got a 4-1 win and now have an opportunity to tie up their series with the Rangers in the best of 7. Fans who were at Carolina Ale House for Game 5 say they're riding high.
So one thing about this team, there's grit. You know, they never give up, one play at a time, one goal at a time. That's all we can do is just go through and just get to the end, and that's what we did.
Game 6 between the 2 teams is Thursday night in Raleigh. And after that game, be sure to tune into our exclusive post-game show on WRAL. Everything gets started at 11:25.
Today, Michael Cohen will be on the stand again in former President Donald Trump's hush money trial. Trump's former lawyer started his testimony yesterday. He told the jury that Trump directed him to pay Stormy Daniels in the days before the 2016 election. He said the payoff happened because Trump was furious Daniels was trying to sell her story about having sex with him. Trump denies the encounter and the charges of disguising the payoff as legal expenses. And pour one out for the Cheddar Bay biscuits. Dozens of Red Lobster's locations, including here locally, have abruptly closed. The restaurants in Cary, Durham, Rocky Mount, and Burlington are all listed as closed on Red Lobster's website. They're among more than 80 locations in 27 states listed as temporarily closed as of Monday. Red Lobster is reportedly considering filing for bankruptcy protection. The company has not publicly acknowledged the abrupt closings, though.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Ukraine today. He plans to meet with President Volodymyr Zelensky to talk about U.S. aid and long-term security commitments. This is Blinken's 4th visit to Kyiv since Russia invaded 2 years ago.
Severe weather is hitting parts of the U.S. very hard and are giving farmers major concern. The warning that farmers are giving about the nation's food supply as intense storms head through the Gulf Coast.
Plus, it's the beginning of a new era for the WNBA. How Caitlin Clark is raising the bar even before she steps on the court for her first professional game.
Showers in our forecast for today. You can see a good bit of that in our southwestern counties. That's starting to lift up through the Triangle area. I'll show you when thunderstorms are likely. We'll go over it on Futurecast coming up.
Welcome back. You were looking live at Raleigh. Looks to be dry there for now, but that's going to change later on. You're watching WRAL News, available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device. Elizabeth, some of us seeing that rain right now, others of us are dry, but we're going to have some spotty showers on and off all day.
And tomorrow, it's going to be messy here for the next several days. We saw those gray skies out there on the camera, and that's going to be with us at least until Thursday. Thursday looks like a pretty nice day to get out. But let's talk about these two systems. Looking at periods of rain for today, we'll put this into motion. A flow coming out of the southwest continues to push some moisture in, but the cold front and the low themselves are still going to be back to the west until tomorrow. And as that moves through during the afternoon and evening tomorrow, we'll have the chance of some scattered storms and a more widespread chance of some of those being severe. Here's a look at dual Doppler 5000 radar. Live look here. Some scattered showers in our southern and southwestern counties, and those are pretty quickly moving on up to the north and east, starting to fill in there in the southern part of Wake County now. We'll zoom in. You can see around Fuquay and Holly Springs, a few scattered showers, a little bit of light rain right around Raleigh, but this will continue to fill in from Smithfield to Zebulon to Durham, Chapel Hill as we get through the next 30-45 minutes or so. Let's take a look at the big picture. We continue to see most of the severe storms down south along the Gulf Coast and into Florida. That red shaded area is a tornado watch. There have been tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings over the last few hours down to the south of us. We do have that level 1 risk for severe storms for parts of Moore County, all of Hoke County, part of Cumberland and Sampson County. Best chance of storms will be starting around lunchtime into the afternoon. And then tomorrow, again, the potential for damaging winds, some hail, mainly during the afternoon, which is when we typically see it. Let's take a look at today. Some scattered showers continue across the area. There's noon, more rain and potential thunderstorms through the afternoon, and that continues overnight and into the day tomorrow. There's 6 a.m., so it may be a wet start to the commute tomorrow, and then maybe we get a little bit of a break after that, and then the front comes through and brings us a good chance for scattered thunderstorms along the front, which will be mainly evening. And you can see when we have a good chance for those thunderstorms tomorrow, anytime after lunchtime into the afternoon, that chance of storms goes up. Taking a look at Goldsboro this morning, fairly dry there. It's a little damp in Apex. You can see damp streets in Chapel Hill, and it's been raining there in Fayetteville. All that rain is going to continue to push eastward. Let's jump ahead to Friday and Saturday. This is going to be our next chance of rain. Friday's looking drier, at least with this run of Futurecast. And then it looks like Saturday may be on the wetter side during the afternoon and evening. We have some thunderstorms that come through. So we may get some fairly dry conditions for the first half of the day. We're going to continue to watch that closely. 100% today, 60 Wednesday, and then Friday at 30 and Saturday at 40. How much rainfall? Likely to see an inch to an inch and a half. We definitely need that rain. We're cool today at 72, but then after that, the highs will be in the 80s all the way through the weekend. Ken?
At 8:15, taking a look at a couple of those damp roads that you just mentioned. This is a live look at I-40 and South Saunders. You can see the westbound lanes and traffic has definitely picked up this morning. Elsewhere around the triangle, this is I-40 and Aviation Parkway. You can see that morning commuters are navigating their way rather smoothly this morning. No major crashes to report on the Beltline, but we are seeing the morning congestion that's picking up. This is a road conditions map. All this green shows all the damp roads that are blanketing the triangle this morning. There are a couple of crashes that we want to bring your attention to that we've been monitoring for the last 15 minutes or so. And of course, we're actually working to get more information about many of these crashes. This one involves of news in the southbound lane near Durant Road. This crash happened about 5 minutes ago. The other one is we've been monitoring for the last 20 minutes or so. You can see it's causing quite a bit of backup there on Falls of Neuse Road in northern Wake County. So keep that in mind if you're about to head out and that's part of your morning commute. Here's something else that we picked up on our sensors this morning. I-540, the westbound lanes there in the northern part of Wake County, seeing a lot of backup there this morning. So you might want to avoid that area if you're getting ready to head out and you usually hit I-540.
Take your time, and especially during those construction zones. All right, so they say April showers bring May flowers, but it's May and the storms keep coming. Today, the Gulf Coast is facing flood hazards.
Yeah, it looks like this year's spring showers are so intense they're causing farming problems. Amy Kiley reports that could affect the nation's food supply.
Heavy downpours and flooding continue to plague parts of the U.S. Today, a deadly storm system is pushing through the Gulf Coast. These New Orleans area residents have sandbags ready after filling them yesterday.
People like to go by too fast, and it pushes water up in my garage in the house. So we put sandbags out in front to keep that from happening.
Even some places that are dry today have lingering weather problems.
Water. I just saw water. Acres and acres of water.
About an hour east of Nashville, some farmers say their crops are suffering.
Everything we do relies on Mother Nature, and sometimes she's not so cooperative.
One issue is fruit with flood damage. Another is wheat that strong winds have flattened. The farmers say the damage could affect U.S. food availability.
What's happened is so devastating. You see this wheat standing here, and then on the side over here, you see where it's blown down. You see it's nearly on the ground.
In Iowa, the Farmers Union says it welcomes rain after years of drought, but storms have put production behind schedule.
We've had about 3.5 inches over the last 2 weeks, so we've been out 17 days.
That was Amy Kiley reporting.
All right, folks, I want you to look at your screen. You see this right here, that lightning strike? Notice that spark to the left right there. It's smoke billowing there after a power surge. This happened in Houston, Texas. The tower camera at an NBC affiliate caught this on video. The storm was part of a bigger portion of severe weather, and that brought hail and damaging winds to the Houston area yesterday.
Abortion medications in Louisiana could soon be classified in the same category as highly regulated drugs. The proposed bill would make it a felony, punishable with up to 5 years in prison for anyone found with drugs without a prescription. Doctors in Louisiana would still be able to prescribe the drugs. Pregnant women planning to use the drug would still have access to it. Lawmakers have until June 3rd to approve the bill before sending it to the governor.
A new Duke University study reveals many African Americans are more susceptible to heart failure and death. And this is because of a specific gene variant, meaning a permanent DNA sequence change that makes up that gene. Researchers found roughly 4% of the black population in this country carries this specific variant. That is nearly 1.5 million people. The variant was found in similar numbers of men and women. And researchers say people with the variant died between 2 and 2.5 years sooner than people who don't carry it.
The data seem to suggest that if you have symptoms of heart failure and you have features that could be consistent with cardiac amyloid, this abnormal protein depositing in the heart, that should prompt a workup and potentially genetic testing.
Now, regardless, researchers say high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, and smoking still pose the greatest risks for developing heart disease.
Results from Wegovy's longest clinical trial are in, and it shows the drug has benefits beyond weight loss. More than 17,000 patients were studied over 4 years, and researchers found that Wegovy can benefit the heart better than any other medicine. The study also reinforces that the drug accelerates weight loss and can cause gastrointestinal side effects.
A new report shows home prices are surging faster than in previous years. Housing analytics company Resi Club says home prices have jumped 47% since 2020. The recent surge beats the 30% increase in the 90s and 44% increase in the 2010s. Higher mortgage rates and fewer available homes could be contributing to the surge. Economists say rates likely won't go down until the Fed makes rate cuts.
High interest rates are driving up car prices. The most recent data from Bankrate.com shows that interest rates for both new and used cars have gone up nearly 3% in the last few years. Sticker prices are also higher. Experts say that having fewer used cars on the market drives up those prices. To keep costs down, they recommend looking at all of your options. That includes leasing, certified pre-owned vehicles, and electric vehicles that qualify for tax credits. This week, General Motors will start taking its self-driving cars out on public roads again. The company stopped testing last October after a person was hit in San Francisco. This time, the cars will have a safety driver at the wheel, and the vehicles will still do most of the driving, but with a human ready to take control if needed. The company said it also updated its software to better respond to similar crashes in the future.
UNC trustees recently expressed concern over UNC's athletic program's money spending. Trustees say the athletic department's original budget included a deficit of $17 million next year. It also included more than $100 million over the next few years. The board was critical of longtime athletic director Bubba Cunningham and approved an audit of the department. That happened as major changes are coming for college athletics. This includes conference realignment and potentially paying players.
Tonight, Caitlin Clark will suit up for her first professional game playing for the Indiana Fever as they face off against the Connecticut Sun. Clark is already raising the bar before she even steps foot on the court. For the first time in 20 years, the Sun Stadium is sold out for their home opener, all thanks to the opposing team's rookie guard.
This is a dream. This is something I wrote down on a piece of paper when I was in second grade, get a basketball scholarship, play in the WNBA.
And she is. Tonight's game tips off at 8 o'clock.
2 North Carolina natives are hoping to stay in the competition for next week's season finale of The Voice. That was Josh Sanders from Kannapolis performing in last night's live semifinals. Tay Lewis from Goldsboro also took the stage. Viewers voted to decide the 5 singers who will move on to next week's season finale. Those results will be announced tonight, and you can watch The Voice on WRAL at 8 p.m.
Coming up, Wake County teens may have to wait 5 months before they can take driver's ed. How the district is working to clear up the driver's ed backlog to speed up the process.
Get into your car, tuned to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. We are in for a bit of a wet day. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner tracking the rain moving in across the area. It's going to be spotty throughout the day.
Here comes that next wave. It's getting a little heavier down here in the Sandhills, lifting up toward the Triangle. A few scattered showers returning. We had some waves of rain earlier this morning. This is just the next one in the line of a lot of rain that we'll end up seeing today. You may not be able to see it as well on your camera, but it is pouring in Pinehurst right now. It is coming down there. Our southern counties do have a level 1 risk for severe storms for this afternoon. Damaging wind would be the biggest threat, but hail's not out of the question. Some of the heaviest rain is likely to be close to lunchtime to mid-afternoon, but it's not going to stop there. We'll continue to see waves of rain. When the kids get off the bus this afternoon, there are likely to be some scattered showers and storms. It'll be cool with highs in the low 70s, Ken.
Elizabeth, quickly checking road conditions. You can see all this green that shows all the wet roads that are blanketing the Triangle this morning. A lot of the traffic crashes you see on the map this morning are on local roads, none on the major thoroughfares that we can see, but you can see the traffic is building on the north side of the Beltline. You can expect that this time of the morning. It's also building on the south side of the Beltline as well. We'll continue to monitor these crashes and let you know if any of them cause any problems for your morning commute.
Thanks, Ken. Following breaking news, 3 people are hurt after a shooting in Cumberland County this morning. It happened around 3 o'clock this morning on Hope Mills on Dry Point Lane off Legion Road. We are working to learn the extent of the injuries and if anybody is in custody. Next on Fox 50, the changes to the driver's education program Wake County leaders are working on. And coming up next on Today, a summer style preview, what to expect from the season's hottest trends.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number 1 source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
We have a level 1 risk for severe storms for part of the viewing area today and for all of the viewing area tomorrow. Coming up, I'll walk you through the timeline for the thunderstorms.
3 people are hurt after a shooting in Cumberland County early this morning. Coming up, I'm going to tell you what we're still trying to learn from the sheriff's office.
It could take up to 5 months for your teen to get enrolled in driver's ed in Wake County. Coming up, what school leaders are doing today to change that.
And the Carolina Hurricanes are striking back. The second straight win that has their series against the New York Rangers headed back to PNC. It is a good morning here. Well, not for the Rangers. Thank you for joining us here on WRAL News and Fox 50. I'm Chris Lovinggood.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. Yeah, the Canes answered last night. They have another game to play, so we will talk about that coming up in a little bit. But first, we have to start with meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner tracking that next big system that's pushing into our area, Elizabeth.
We are likely to see thunderstorms this afternoon, but so far this morning, it's been scattered rain. This is a little steadier, this next band that's coming up from the southwest. And so we're seeing some fairly steady to heavy rain across parts of the Sandhills. And then then that's starting to lift back up toward the triangle and eventually on toward the Virginia line. So it's going to spread across the entire viewing area. It just so happens that these southern counties are also in the level 1 risk for severe storms for this afternoon. Damaging winds, hail, some heavy rain definitely with that. So we're just going to see waves of rain that continue to move across the area through the afternoon. Once we get to and past lunchtime, we'll have a better chance of thunderstorms being embedded in some of that rain. But it continues overnight tonight and into the day tomorrow. A cold front will sweep through tomorrow evening, and then we get a nice little break on Thursday. Here's a look at Fayetteville. That rain's starting to come down there. Definitely wet conditions there. 65 degrees is our temperature around most of the viewing area right now. We're in the mid-60s. We only climb into the low 70s this afternoon. If you're going to be out and about later in the day, if there are strong thunderstorms that start to come through your area, just be sure to turn on the TV, and we will be walking you through that. Don't forget, tomorrow we also have a level 1 risk for severe storms, and we'll walk through the timeline for tomorrow coming up in just a few minutes. Ken?
8:32, Elizabeth. Those wet road conditions you just talked about really affecting our morning commute. This is a live look now at I-40 and Lake Wheeler Road. You can see traffic moving at a snail's pace in both directions, and you can see the rain coming down from this camera as well. Elsewhere, this is a camera at I-40 and South Saunders Street. Similarly, those westbound lanes moving away from us, moving very slowly this morning. We want to take a look at how these wet road conditions are affecting the triangle. This map shows, all the green on this map shows the wet roads that are blanketed in the triangle this morning. Most of the crashes that you see here on this map are happening on local roads, none on the major roadways except for 540. We just got this report of a crash that happened on I-540 this morning. We're trying to get some more information about it. And as soon as we do, we'll let you know exactly what's happening. But this is in the westbound lanes of 540. And you can see the bumper traffic that is causing there on I-540. So keep that in mind if you're about to head out. You might want to avoid I-540 this morning if that's part of your usual morning commute.
Certainly take your time when you're out driving. Thank you, Ken. This is a story that WRAL is following. 3 people are hurt after a shooting in Cumberland County this morning. It happened around 3 in Hope Mills. This was on Dry Point Lane off Legion Road. WRAL's Nick Perlin is in the breaking news tracker at the sheriff's office. And Nick, it's not quite clear just yet if a suspect has been apprehended.
That's right, Chris. We're still trying to learn that from the sheriff's office right now, as well as a bunch of other things like how this shooting happened. I'm here right in front trying to get these answers, but this is what we do know right now. 3 people are injured after the shooting. I do want to get you to this video from the WRAL breaking news tracker. This is going to show you where this shooting happened. This is on Dry Point Lane near Legion Road in Hope Mills. This is a very short road, but this is where this shooting happened. We know the call came in at around 3 this morning. Like Chris was saying, we're still trying to find out if they know who fired their gun right now. We're also trying to learn from the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office if the 3 people who were injured are expected to live. So still a lot more questions that we're asking right now. I'll keep you updated once we have more information. Reporting live in Cumberland County, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
Right now, polls are open for primary runoff elections, and voters have a handful of races to decide in today's vote. WRAL's Laura Levine is in Raleigh this morning. And Laura, this runoff election includes 3 different Republican races.
Yeah, Michelle, voting is now underway here in Raleigh. We are at Chavis Park, this precinct here, where voters will be casting their ballot. We know that this primary runoff today features the statewide Republican races for state auditor and lieutenant governor. And that's because both positions attracted lots of candidates in the March GOP primary, and no one got above 30% of the vote. In the 13th congressional district, which wraps around the triangle, voters will decide between Smithfield attorney Kelly Daughtry and former federal prosecutor Brad Knott. But Daughtry ended her campaign just days before this runoff, so her name will still appear on the ballot. Voters in Orange County face a similar situation. And Jennifer Moore withdrew from the Board of Education runoff there, but State Elections Director Karen Britton-Bell says the deadline for that has already passed.
The ballots had already gone out in both of these situations, so that process will continue. Those votes will be counted. If those individuals happen to be the top vote getters, then we'll address that with them and how they choose to continue.
Now, some voters may have some trouble today supplying a photo ID because the DMV is still dealing with some backup processing issues. However, when it comes to how they can cast their ballot, they can still use a provisional ballot. Laura Levine, WRAL News, we're live in Raleigh.
And polls will be open until 7:30 tonight. You can find your sample ballot and polling location, as well as information about each candidate on WRAL.com. Search Vote. We'll have results after the polls close tonight on WRAL, WRAL.com, and our news app.
Authorities say a driver who led troopers on a chase that ended in a crash is still out there. New this morning, we're seeing another driver's dash cam video showing the chase. You can see the white car speeding through an intersection and a trooper following close behind. More law enforcement vehicles later speed past as this chase continues. This happened last night in Spring Lake in Cumberland County. Now, the chase ended when the driver crashed into other cars. 2 of those drivers were taken to the hospital, and WRAL is working to learn how they are doing this morning. A woman who was on the road near the crash says it was a scary situation.
When he got close enough on me, he ran me off the road. I almost hit a light pole. And then probably about 50 feet ahead of me, he hit the car that was in front of me. Just full speed, well over 100 miles an hour, no doubt.
Now, troopers say that the vehicle the driver was in was stolen. They used dogs and a helicopter to try to find the driver, but they were unable to do so.
This morning, additional money for Durham Public Schools will be considered during a joint meeting of the school board and county leaders. Last night, Durham County Manager Kimberly Sowell presented her budget proposal. It includes a 3.25 cent increase in the property tax rate, as well as $13 million additional dollars for Durham Public Schools. The school board's proposed budget includes $8 million for raises for school employees. The boards will meet to compare their proposals at 9 o'clock this morning.
Right now, your teenager may have to wait months to take driver's ed in Wake County. As WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains, school leaders are talking about how to change this long backlog.
So many of us know what it's like to anxiously await getting your driver's license. But due to backlogs in Wake County for driver's ed, some high schoolers are going to be forced to wait. Right now, driver's ed enrollment can take up to 5 months in Wake County, but it should only take 8 to 12 weeks. Today, school leaders will talk about ways to reduce this backlog. This isn't the first time the school system has faced this issue. They were forced to make changes in 2022 when there was a backlog due to COVID. Now, the school system is looking to expand a contract with the driving school to fix the problem. Lincoln Faust waited in line for his driver's license today. His mom said she paid more than $400 for private driving school to avoid wait times through the school system.
I know a lot of people who aren't going to be able to drive when they graduate just because either they're waiting. For some people, it's just easier to wait till they're 18 so they don't even have to do the driver's ed course because it takes such a long time to be able to get in.
Today, school leaders will only have a discussion. We're not expecting a vote just yet, but we'll be sure to keep you posted. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
The Canes are keeping their Stanley Cup hopes alive. They exploded for 4 goals in the third period of Game 5 last night for a 4-1 win over the New York Rangers. And just like that, the Canes are back to within 3 games to 2 in the series after losing the first 3 games. They'll be back at PNC Arena for Game 6 Friday with a chance to tie the series up. And coming up in less than 10 minutes, we'll check in with WRAL's Casey Hintz. She's at Madison Square Garden with a closer look at how the Canes are turning this series around.
The NFL is gearing up for the 2024 season, which 4 teams are facing off in the opening weekend games.
Plus, Ellen DeGeneres hitting the stage again, what she says she'll address in her new Netflix special.
Gloomy look outside at Wake Forest. This isn't the sunrise we want to wake up to, but that just kind of goes to show what we're going to be seeing here today as we've seen some rain push across our area. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner has been tracking out the entire time. Elizabeth, it's going to be a little bit before we see some more sunshine.
It is Thursday. Looks like a really nice day to be outside. We should see some sunshine, at least by midday Thursday. But today and tomorrow, this is what we're going to see. Waves of rain coming through. This next wave is producing some, fairly steady, I wouldn't necessarily say heavy, but definitely steady rain around Fayetteville, down to Pinehurst, coming on up through Sanford, getting ready to head on up into the Triangle and Goldsboro. So this is going to continue to push from the southwest up to the northeast. So you can see, again, Southern Pines, Hope Mills, Fayetteville, Pittsburgh, Siler City, up toward Chapel Hill. Definitely going to continue to see that pushing eastward. A little farther south, we have a lot of severe storms. The Gulf Coast of the last few days has seen a good bit of severe weather. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect down in Georgia right now, and we continue to have that tornado watch in red. And sometimes what happens is we get a lot of storms along the Gulf Coast, and it sort of acts like a wall, and all that moisture that's coming up out of the Gulf gets kind of sucked up into some of these thunderstorms. So that's one of the reasons why we're going to see this coming through in waves, and why we're less likely to have those severe storms. Look at this. Along the Gulf Coast, all those gray circles are where we've had wind damage. And of course, you can see the red circles are the tornado warnings or the tornado damage reports that we've seen. Let's walk through this, and you can continue to see scattered rain. Once we get close to lunchtime and into the afternoon, we see a better chance for some thunderstorms. And again, in most cases, we're not looking at a lot of widespread severe storms, but down in our southern counties, we'd have a better chance of some wind damage or some hail. We may see that easing up a little bit overnight, but more of that on the way for tonight and tomorrow. Here's a look at our severe threat for today. Again, it's our southern counties for damaging winds and potentially some hail. And then tomorrow, it's the entire viewing area, almost the whole state, with that level 1 risk of wind damage. So we have this low pressure system, and it's helping to draw up a lot of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. We had very low humidity over the weekend. So this is pushing more moisture in and bringing that better chance for rain. So we're looking at 60% chance for tomorrow. And then Friday and Saturday, we're back to another chance for rain. Right now, Thursday and Sunday look like the driest days that we'll have this week. It's coming down right here in Fayetteville right now. Our temperatures are in the mid 60s across most of the region, and it'll be a mild afternoon, a little cooler than yesterday, 72 in Raleigh, 70 in Durham, and 75 in Fayetteville. Our normal high temperature is 80 degrees, so we'll be about 8 to 10 degrees cooler than normal, feeling a little bit more like the middle of April. And our muggy meter is sitting at tolerable. It's likely to continue to climb for the next few days because of that potential for rain. We're back into the 80s for tomorrow, and highs will be in the 80s all the way through the weekend. Again, if you're looking to get outside, Thursday looks dry, and Sunday and Monday do too. Ken?
Elizabeth, the rainy conditions definitely affecting the morning commute. Take a look at your screen. You can see this is a live camera at I-40 and Lake Wheeler Road. You can see traffic is moving very slowly in both directions, particularly in the westbound lanes, moving away from us, because you can see the rain is definitely coming down this morning. Elsewhere on the Beltline, there's a northern part of the Beltline, the westbound lanes. You can see the traffic picking up right there. There's an I-440 and Lake Boone Trail. This is an area that's playing out all across the Triangle this morning, because as you can see from these road conditions, all this green shows the wet road conditions all across the Triangle this morning. And, you know, you look at this map and you're thinking, oh, my God, there's traffic accidents everywhere. Yes, they are, but they're on local routes, but not really on any of our major routes that it's causing any congestion this morning. That's what we saw just now on I-440 and the Beltline. That's part of your morning commute. Adding to the rain, it's slowing people down a little bit. But we'll keep monitoring these crashes for any updates in the WRAL Traffic Center.
And Jeff Hogan in the WRAL Live Center. An ambush overseas is making headlines worldwide. 2 French prison guards were shot and killed. 3 others were hurt in an ambush. So let me give you some details about how this happened. According to police, heavily armed men ambushed a prison van trying to free an inmate. It happened right near Normandy in northern France, right near this toll booth on a major highway right there. And the inmate and the attackers were able to escape after all this. It was reported that men were carrying rifles, and they had an SUV that slammed into a prison transport van like this one. This is not the van that was involved in the situation, but it was an SUV that was rammed into it. It caught on fire. Everybody got away in this. There are several hundred police officers now in France that are searching for those people.
Tragic details coming from that story. Thank you, Jeff. A Raleigh woman who is blind says that she wants to know why an Uber driver dropped her off in the wrong place and then left her there. Camille Richardson says that she called an Uber on Saturday to take her to a Verizon store for a new phone. But she says instead, the driver left her at an apartment complex more than a mile away. She claims that he told her he needed to pick someone up at the airport, and then he drove away, leaving her stranded.
How could you just abandon somebody like that, knowing good and well that I was not in the right spot. It didn't matter what you had going on next. You knew that you left me there, and you knew that wasn't safe.
Richardson called 911 and police were able to get her to that Verizon store. In a statement to WRAL, Uber said, quote, Camille's experience is frustrating and we are continuing to investigate. We have been in contact with her and issued a refund for the trip.
The Carolina Hurricanes are coming home for another game, hoping for another win to even their score against the New York Rangers. They beat them 4-1 in Game 5 of last night's game at Madison Square Garden. WRAL's Casey Hintz is in New York with a look ahead to Game 6.
Hey, good morning, everyone. You know, when the Carolina Hurricanes fell down 3-0 in this series, there was still a lot of belief inside that locker room, and the team also continued to trust their game, and now that has them within one game in this series against the Rangers after a 4-1 win here at Madison Square Garden last night. Now, the Canes actually entered the third period trailing 1-0. Boy, the second period, it could have been a deflating, shorthanded goal by the Rangers, but the Canes came out in the third, continued to play their game, and it was the captain, Jordan Stahl, a little backhand past Igor Shesterkin. That tied the game at 1. The Canes would score 3 goals in 6 minutes, 23 seconds. Yevgeny Kuznetsov, the eventual game winner, as the Canes live to fight another day.
That's a two beautiful teams that competing against each other, and it's a dogfight.
We gave ourselves a chance to play another game and give ourselves a chance to hopefully come back here. So I think we're just pumped for each other and just enjoy the moment.
It's kind of coming together a little bit more and more. So wins are nice. We gotta just keep fighting. That's it.
Now, the fellas have a couple of days to be able to regroup before Game 6, which is set for Thursday, back home in Raleigh, in what I know will be a rocking PNC Arena. But for now, Casey Hintz, WRAL Sports, Manhattan.
And after the game Thursday, be sure to tune into our exclusive post-game show on WRAL. It gets started at 11:25.
We're going to learn the full NFL schedule tomorrow night, but here's what we know about some of the opening games. The league announced yesterday the season will start with a game between Kansas City and Baltimore. That game will be played Thursday, September 5th. Mark your calendar. The Browns and the Cowboys will play in Fox's Game of the Week for the opening week, and that game will also mark Tom Brady's debut in the broadcast booth. You'll be able to watch both games on WRAL. We're also getting our first look at the new Wicked film, and George Clooney is headed to Broadway. Here's Rick Damigella with the Hollywood Minute.
Wait a minute. We have new footage from the big screen adaptation of the beloved musical Wicked. This is a closer look at Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande as the Witches of Oz. Fans will get to see more when the first of the 2-film series arrives this Thanksgiving. George Clooney is set to make his Broadway debut in a stage adaptation of his acclaimed 2005 film Good Night and Good Luck. The actor also co-wrote the play, which is based on the life of journalist Edward R. Murrow and set to debut next spring.
Whether you take it as the intent of he's really dedicated to what he's doing or he should get help, I'll leave that up to you.
You talking about me?
Yes.
Billy Corgan's journey as owner of the National Wrestling Alliance is documented in Billy Corgan's Adventures in Carneyland. The 8-episode reality show sees the rock star balancing music, family, and wrestling, which he and fiancée Chloe Mendel explain is their everyday life.
We literally will be sitting at the kitchen table having dinner, and in one conversation go from high couture fashion to the NWA to Pumpkin's political problems, You know what I mean? It's so normal in our life that we don't even blink. But if you think about it on paper, it makes not a lot of sense. But here we are.
It's following your passion. I think that's what the show is. It's not being afraid of what other people think and doing what you love.
The show premieres today on the CW app and CWTV.com. In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Ellen DeGeneres is hitting the stage again.
Yeah, Ellen DeGeneres says she will talk about it in an upcoming Netflix special. And by it, she presumably means the accusations of a toxic work environment on her daytime talk show. The special will come out later this year, and she says it will be her last one. Before we go to break, here are your winning lottery numbers. We'll get another check on weather and traffic coming up next.